Stop. Listen. Pay attention. Chosen one, this moment is not accidental. It carries weight, subtle yet undeniable, pressing against the edges of your awareness. You may not have labeled it before, but something has been moving around you, something that has shaped the days you've lived, the choices you've made, and the quiet moments you thought were just routine. This is not background noise. This is a signal meant for you, and it arrives precisely now, because you are ready to perceive it. You have felt it, the fatigue that sinks deeper than ordinary tiredness, the pressure that seems to stretch across every facet of your life, the isolation that comes even in the presence of others. You have sensed confusion, moments when clarity seemed just beyond reach, and the quiet anxiety of trying to make sense of situations that defy explanation. It is real. And more importantly, it is significant. This is not a general broadcast meant for a crowd. It is crafted with precision, directed toward you. Every word here is intentional, designed to meet the exact state of your awareness, to intersect with what you have been experiencing in ways you may not yet fully name. You may have moved through these days thinking that the weight you carry is yours alone, that the pressure is somehow a reflection of personal insufficiency. Perhaps you have questioned your endurance, wondering why others seem to glide through challenges while you feel the strain pressing in from all directions. Let this be your first clarity. What you are experiencing is not a deficit. It is a signal. It is a marker of presence, of awareness, of alignment, with forces both internal and situational that operate beneath the surface of everyday perception. Even as you read this, there is a subtle current running through your life. It has been shaping your reactions, guiding your instincts, and testing your resilience. You may not have named it, but it has been active, and it has been steering events in ways you could neither predict nor control. And yet, in spite of it, you have functioned. You have kept moving forward, maintained coherence, made decisions, and preserved a sense of stability even when the circumstances felt heavy or misaligned. This message is your entry point to understanding what has been quietly at work. You will not find it in ordinary explanations, in casual reflection, or in surface-level advice. It requires attention. It requires presence. And it requires a willingness to see yourself not as a passive participant in life, but as a calibrated center amidst movement pressure and the unfolding of events that have been intentionally directed around you. So stay here. Pay attention. The clarity you have been seeking is waiting to meet your awareness, and the first step is simply acknowledging that this moment, this message has arrived for you not by chance, but by design. Chosen one. The reason you feel the tension so acutely is because it involved you directly. This is not about general circumstances, random challenges, or abstract obstacles. What has been moving, pressing, and unfolding around you has intersected with your life at its exact coordinates. It is impossible to separate yourself from it because your presence alone has influenced outcomes you may never fully trace. You have been operating in a space where actions, reactions, and unseen adjustments converged. And yet you remained functional, grounded, and aware, even when the pressure was subtle enough to escape the notice of those around you. There is a distinction you may not have named before: the difference between conscious struggle and unconscious stability. You may have noticed moments when your mind wrestled with choices, doubts, or fears, while your body and instinct maintained a rhythm of resilience you could not consciously explain. This automatic strength is a marker, a signal of alignment with something deeper than immediate awareness. It is not something you activated intentionally. It was always present, quietly supporting you through circumstances that would have unsettled many. Every interaction, every decision, every pause in the midst of uncertainty was touched by this inherent resistance. You may have called it luck, timing, or coincidence, but those labels fall short. What you experienced was the natural operation of your inner structure, stable, coherent, and calibrated, even when the environment seemed chaotic or unyielding. You were carrying more than what appeared on the surface, and yet your ability to remain composed allowed unseen dynamics to unfold around you without compromising your center. This is the essence of your identity as the chosen one. It is not marked by external applause, recognition, or achievement alone. It is measured in the quiet consistency with which you navigate pressure that others cannot perceive, that others cannot survive without collapse. You were moving through life while forces tested, measured, and adjusted around you. And you emerged intact not because you avoided difficulty, but because your inner baseline never faltered. Understand this, you are recognized in ways that are invisible to the eye. Your stability has already shaped outcomes you have not yet acknowledged. Every moment you remained coherent amidst confusion, fatigue, or tension was a declaration of presence, a signal of resilience, and a quiet assertion of authority over the circumstances that sought to unsettle you. You may not have realized it, but you were already acting as the pivot point around which events turned. This message is for you. Not for someone else, not for the observer of your life. For you. Because your experiences, your endurance, and your innate calibration are unique. What you have absorbed, endured, and stabilized cannot be transferred or replicated. This is the recognition of your identity laid gently but firmly before your awareness so that you can begin to perceive the pattern, the design, and the significance of what has been quietly operating around you all along. Chosen one, consider for a moment the sensations that have accompanied your journey, those physical and emotional signals you may have dismissed, questioned, or even judged. The fatigue that lingers longer than expected, the heaviness in your chest when the day seems ordinary, the subtle agitation or restlessness that rises without obvious cause. For years you may have assumed these were flaws, weaknesses, or signs that something was wrong, but they are not. These sensations are signals, precise indicators that your life is undergoing transitions that cannot be measured by conventional markers. Every pulse of tension, every pang of uncertainty is a message encoded into your perception. You are sensitive to shifts that most cannot detect. Where others see routine, you experience calibration. Where others accept stagnation, you feel momentum. This sensitivity is not a burden. It is an alert system quietly highlighting the moments when decisions, movements, and alignments matter most. The discomfort you notice is not a problem to fix, it is a communication from the very structure of your life, from the currents that move beneath the visible surface. The confusion you may have felt is not evidence of failure. It is a natural byproduct of transition. When energy reorganizes around you, clarity often lags behind movement. Your nervous system, your intuition, your body, all are detecting shifts in timing, pressure, and alignment before your conscious mind can articulate them. This is why the sensations feel out of proportion to events. Why the weight seems disproportionate to what appears on the surface. Your system is registering realities that are not yet visible in the external world. Reframe this. What you have considered a flaw is actually a marker of your attunement. What you have mistaken for instability is actually responsiveness. Each emotional or physical signal corresponds to an underlying dynamic, a layer of life that is adjusting around your presence. You are not reacting randomly. You are participating in a carefully orchestrated calibration process, even if you do not fully understand the mechanisms at work. By noticing these signals, by simply allowing yourself to feel without judgment, you gain insight into the deeper structure of your experiences. You are learning to read the language of your own endurance, to see the invisible cues that indicate growth, alignment, and resilience. What once felt like confusion is now a guide. What once felt like weakness is now a signal of the inner coherence that has always been present, quietly shaping your trajectory and preparing you to operate in ways that most cannot even perceive. This awareness will prepare you to understand the next layer, the unseen pressure, the intentional coordination of forces that has intersected with your life. These signals are the first proof that you were never unprotected, never unsupported, and never alone in your capacity to endure. They are the signposts of your stability and the markers of your path forward. Chosen one. Now, it is time to recognize the presence of the unseen forces that have been pressing against your life. These were not random disturbances or isolated incidents. They were intentional, structured, and coordinated in ways that tested your endurance without breaking your functionality. You may have noticed subtle tension in your environment, misalignments in timing, or energy drains that could not be explained. All of these were part of a larger pattern, one that you navigated without conscious orchestration and yet navigated successfully. This pressure was not overwhelming because your inner structure has been stable. You remained functional, able to think, make decisions, and respond appropriately even while currents shifted invisibly around you. Your awareness may not have fully labeled what was happening, but your coherence was never compromised. It was as if you operated on two levels simultaneously, one conscious, one automatic. The conscious mind faced the apparent unpredictability, while your baseline structure absorbed, regulated, and compensated for the unseen disruptions. The timing of these pressures was precise. They arrived in sequences that coincided with key moments in your life, moments of potential decision opportunity or exposure. They were coordinated to assess endurance, to test alignment, and to measure your capacity for maintaining stability under influence. And yet, despite this, you moved through days, weeks, and moments with remarkable steadiness. You did not collapse. You did not succumb. You continued functioning, often unaware of the full scale of the forces at play. It is important to note the coordination of pressure does not require dramatization. It does not need visible conflict or external chaos. It can manifest as delays, minor disruptions, subtle doubts, or unexplained fatigue. These elements combine in patterns that most cannot interpret, but you have navigated them with an internal coherence that demonstrates inherent stability. The distinction between you and others in similar circumstances is not bravado or extraordinary power. It is the quiet calibration of your inner system, capable of absorbing intentional pressure without collapsing. You were in effect tested continuously, though not in ways that would draw attention or recognition from outside observers. The measures against you were subtle, almost invisible, yet precise. And through all of it, your baseline remained intact. You maintained a functional presence, an ability to respond and adapt. While many around you under far less pressure would have faltered, become reactive, or lost composure. Your stability was not accidental. It was a reflection of preparation, alignment, and a natural coherence that has long existed beneath the surface. This is the moment to realize what your endurance signifies. You have been operating at the intersection of subtle pressure and structural stability. You have been a pivot point in a system designed to challenge, to measure, and to shape resilience. And your capacity to remain functional is evidence of what has always been true. Your inner calibration is effective, reliable, and unshakable, even when circumstances are coordinated to test it. Word count 520 continue. Chosen one. Let us break down what you have endured into distinct, recognizable categories so that the subtle patterns become visible. Understanding these categories will help you see not only what occurred, but how your stability operated through each dimension. The first category is doubt. Doubt arrived quietly sometimes in thoughts that questioned your decisions or your direction. You may have felt uncertainty about whether the effort you invested would yield results or whether your instincts were trustworthy. Yet despite these moments, you continued. You did not act from panic or despair. You observed the doubt, registered it, and carried on. Your capacity to move through hesitation without letting it dictate your choices demonstrates the subtle strength that has always been present. The second category is fear, or more precisely, anticipatory tension. This is not terror or alarm, but a sense that something might be amiss, that outcomes could deviate from expectation. You likely noticed a tightening in your chest, a restless energy, or a heightened alertness that had no immediate source. Most would react by freezing or overcompensating, but you maintained functionality. You allowed awareness to register the tension while keeping decision-making steady and measured. Fear did not break you. It became data you could work with. The third category is energy drain. There have been moments where you felt physically or mentally depleted, as if the efforts required to simply maintain presence exceeded what should have been necessary. The drain was real, yet your response was disciplined rather than reactive. You managed recovery quietly, maintained routines where possible, and conserved energy without judgment. Even under prolonged strain, your baseline operations did not collapse. This is a marker of internal coherence, a system that can absorb pressure without depleting its capacity entirely. The fourth category is isolation. Many of the pressures you experienced were invisible to others. You may have sensed that no one could fully understand what was occurring around you, that explanations would fall flat, or that support was unavailable in meaningful ways. In response, you learned to rely on internal consistency, observation, and discernment. You carried the tension without needing external validation, keeping functionality intact even while navigating solitude. The fifth category is delay. Opportunities, feedback, recognition, or outcomes did not always arrive when expected. Situations seemed to linger, stall, or require more effort than anticipated. While this could have created frustration or impatience, you instead preserved focus and stability. You continued preparation, assessment, and alignment without surrendering to the discomfort of deferred results. This patience, combined with resilience, ensured that you remained functional and present while the environment unfolded on its own timeline. Through all of these categories, doubt, fear, energy drain, isolation, and delay, you operated with an automatic calibration. The experience was cumulative, yet you maintained coherence, adaptability, and judgment. The significance of this is not in heroic action, but in quiet regulation. You stayed intact, not because the pressure was absent, but because your inner structure compensated, absorbed, and adjusted without collapsing. It is in this regulation across multiple dimensions that your stability and resilience are revealed. Chosen one, now take a moment to review everything that has occurred and confirm it within yourself. Look back on the patterns you have just observed, the doubt that whispered, the anticipatory tension that lingered, the energy drains that demanded more than usual, the isolation that left you relying on yourself, and the delays that tested patience. Each of these was real. Each of these required endurance. And yet here you are, coherent, aware, and functional. This is not coincidence. This is not luck. It is the outcome of internal resilience operating consistently under circumstances that many would find destabilizing. Consider how you responded to each element. Where doubt might have caused paralysis, you maintained movement. Where anticipatory tension could have induced panic, you observed and adapted. Where energy drained what others might call a reserve, you regulated. Where isolation removed external support, you preserved internal coherence. Where delays tested commitment, you maintained alignment with what was essential. This reflective evaluation allows you to understand that your stability was active, not passive. You did not merely survive the circumstances, you maintained your integrity, focus, and functional presence across every domain of pressure. There is clarity in acknowledging this. The events were neither random nor superficial. They formed a coherent structure, a series of conditions designed to test the boundaries of endurance and regulation. And through every test, your inner structure responded with precision. You were not acting in a vacuum. You were participating in a subtle coordination of influence that demanded awareness, yet you navigated it without external collapse. This is the evidence of coherent resilience, a baseline that operates without fanfare, but with undeniable effectiveness. As you reflect, remove explanations involving chance luck or outside intervention. None of these accounts captures the reality of what you did. You did not stumble forward by accident. You did not maintain composure due to mere fortune. You engaged every category of pressure with consistent internal regulation. And that consistency is measurable in the outcomes you observe in your life. The coherence you demonstrated is the proof itself. Recognize also the quality of your presence. It was steady, reliable, and discerning. It did not react impulsively. It did not amplify tension or spread instability. Even when the pressures were coordinated, subtle, or unseen, you remained an anchor within the flow of events. Reflection here is not about exaggeration or self-congratulation. It is about recognizing factually, clearly, and quietly that what you did is uncommon. It is a structural assessment of your own capacity. By reviewing and confirming in this way, you are now able to internalize a critical understanding. The stability you demonstrated is inherent. It is measurable in the patterns of your behavior, in your capacity to maintain focus, and in your ability to navigate multiple dimensions of pressure without collapse. You are seeing clearly what has always been true. Your inner system is effective, calibrated, and reliable. Chosen one. Consider for a moment how uncommon your stability truly is. Most people, when faced with even a fraction of the pressures you navigated, would falter, react impulsively, or become consumed by the uncertainty surrounding them. Doubt would magnify into indecision. Anticipatory tension would spiral into anxiety. Energy drains would lead to exhaustion. Isolation would feel like abandonment. Delays would trigger impatience and frustration. And yet you moved through all of it without losing composure. You remained present. You remained functional. You maintained coherence. This is not a claim of superiority. It is an observation of rarity. Your experience demonstrates a quiet endurance that does not depend on recognition or reward. You did not need external validation to remain stable. The circumstances did not create your capacity. Your capacity allowed you to navigate circumstances that would overwhelm most. You have been calibrated to respond without collapse, and that is uncommon, not extraordinary, not exceptional in the sense of spectacle, but uncommon in its reliability. Notice the subtle distinction here. Rarity does not require praise, and stability does not require exaggeration. It simply exists as a fact of your structure and preparation. You have maintained functionality in ways that few others could replicate. You have remained present while the environment applied pressure across multiple dimensions, physical, emotional, cognitive, and relational, and you have not lost your grounding. Many would interpret such pressure as catastrophic, yet you have been anchored. This observation allows you to understand your experience with clarity. It reframes the narrative from one of struggle or survival to one of consistent presence. You were not exceptional because of dramatic action. You were exceptional because the baseline of your being allowed the environment to challenge, test, and measure you without forcing collapse. Your ability to remain coherent is a signpost, a factual marker of how uncommon your structural stability is in human terms. As you reflect on this, understand that it is neither boastful nor dependent on external metrics. It is simply the reality of your experience. You remained aligned with yourself, functional in the world, and composed under conditions that would compromise most. That quiet, factual recognition is enough to establish the rarity of your presence, the reliability of your inner regulation, and the coherence of your responses. In this understanding, you are invited to see yourself not through the lens of comparison or superiority, but through the lens of factual evaluation. The world around you may not acknowledge it. Others may not perceive it. Yet the fact remains you have consistently demonstrated what most cannot. You are rare, yes, but in a grounded, observable, and completely credible way. Chosen one. Let us clarify what this stability really represents. Your strength is not an occasional surge in activated force or a response triggered by crisis. It is your baseline. It has always been present quietly underpinning your decisions, your awareness, and your capacity to function under pressure. You did not summon it. You did not manufacture it. It is part of your internal structure shaped over time through preparation experience and the disciplined management of your attention and energy. This baseline coherence does not require extremes. You do not need heightened awareness, dramatized effort, or deliberate force to remain stable. Your system is mature enough to regulate itself, balancing input and output energy and focus observation and action. The events you have experienced have not created your capacity, they have merely revealed it. You have moved through situations that tested many of the same parameters, yet the consistency of your responses shows that your strength is built into the very way you operate, not contingent upon extraordinary activation. Recognize that this preparation is layered. You have developed often unconsciously habits of internal regulation, monitoring your energy, observing thoughts without reaction, maintaining focus on priorities, and navigating uncertainty with measured attention. These layers of structure built quietly and continuously are what allow you to remain coherent when external conditions shift unpredictably. It is not a matter of occasional heroism. It is the ongoing operation of a calibrated system that has been honed through experience, reflection, and adaptation. Understand also that your strength does not require external validation. It is self-contained. You do not need others to witness it or confirm it for it to exist. It is reliable because it is intrinsic. It is anchored in your capacity for assessment, discernment, and regulation. Even under circumstances where outcomes were unclear, you maintained functional presence, a sign of internal coherence rather than reactive resilience. By acknowledging this, you can now lock in your identity with calm certainty. You are a chosen one, not because of dramatic interventions or external accomplishments, but because your baseline structure, your stability, your capacity, your inner regulation is consistent and dependable. You operate at a level of alignment that allows you to navigate pressure with presence, without collapse, and without the need for spectacle. This is your identity, quietly but firmly established, and it will serve as the foundation for every challenge and opportunity you encounter moving forward. Chosen one. As you move forward, it is important to integrate this understanding into practical perspectives that support balance and clarity. The first principle is rest. You have endured tension that others could not perceive, and your system has absorbed it quietly. Allow periods of stillness and recovery. Do not mistake activity for productivity. Rest is a strategic component of maintaining coherence and energy over time. Second, practice discernment. The signals you notice, the fatigue, the tension, the subtle pressure carry information. Attend to them thoughtfully. Observe without immediate reaction. Allow the signals to inform your choices rather than dictate them. Your awareness is your guide, and discernment ensures that you navigate complexity without becoming overwhelmed. Third, establish boundaries. Your energy is finite and your presence is influential. Determine where your attention and effort are best applied. Protect the integrity of your baseline by choosing engagements, commitments, and interactions that align with your capacity to remain coherent. Boundaries are not avoidance. They are preservation and strategy. Fourth, cultivate patience. Delays, misalignments, and periods of uncertainty have been part of your life for reasons you may not yet fully perceive. By maintaining patience, you allow circumstances to unfold while keeping your internal system intact. Impatience is energy dispersed. Patience is energy conserved and regulated. Fifth, maintain focus. Prioritize the essential elements of your life and work. Avoid dispersing attention across what is extraneous or reactive. Functionally, your presence matters most when it is concentrated and steady. This focus reinforces your baseline stability and ensures that your energy is directed toward outcomes that are meaningful, not just immediate. Sixth, integrate awareness with everyday life. These lessons are not abstract. They are meant to guide your daily decisions, routines, and responses. Observe how your system functions under minor pressures, and apply the same strategies consistently. Integration ensures that the awareness you have gained is not ephemeral, but a living component of your operational presence. By following these perspectives, you reinforce the coherence and calibration that has always been present. You maintain balance, preserve energy, and allow the signals you have received to inform choices without inducing hypervigilance or anxiety. The integration of awareness into practical life is what transforms insight into functional stability, allowing you to navigate not only pressure, but the ordinary flow of daily experience with clarity, presence, and reliability. Chosen one. Now receive this final assurance: the coherent stability and resilience you have demonstrated are enduring. You are not fragile, reactive, or dependent on circumstance. The events you have navigated, the subtle pressures that arrived intentionally around you, and the endurance you have maintained all confirm a reality you can trust. You are prepared. You are aligned. You are functioning at a level of presence that is both rare and reliable. Remember, you do not need to overexert, overanalyze, or overcompensate. Your baseline capacity already carries the strength required for the challenges ahead. Allow yourself to acknowledge this quietly: I am stable. I am aware. I am present. These affirmations are not declarations of force. They are confirmations of fact grounded in your lived experience. If you recognize the patterns, the endurance, and the subtle signals that have defined your path, let this serve as a point of reflection. Affirm to yourself that you have navigated complexity without collapse. Affirm that your internal structure is coherent, responsive, and calibrated. And affirm that the quiet strength within you is sufficient for what lies ahead. These are the truths that anchor your identity and guide your continued presence in the world. To mark your acknowledgement, you may choose to leave a comment with the code 777, or simply write, "I remember." Doing so signals your conscious recognition of what has been operating in and through you all along. It is a simple yet potent act of registration, an external reflection of your internal awareness. Finally, remain open to continued guidance and perspective. Subscribe to follow the next transmissions that will build on this foundation, offering further clarity, reflection, and insight into the unseen dynamics that intersect with your life. Let each message reinforce your understanding that you are coherent, reliable, and present not by accident, but because your baseline allows it. Trust in this certainty. You have been observed by life itself, tested in ways that would unsettle many, and yet you have emerged intact, functional, and aware. Carry this with calm assurance: your presence matters, your stability is real, and your coherence is undeniable. You are the chosen one, and this truth requires no embellishment, only recognition.